Hey everyone, my name is Sarah Clark. I am a student at Valdosta State University, and today I will be sharing with you a PowerPoint presentation on interactive assessments and how we can implement them in our classrooms, the positive things that they bring to our classroom, and how we can help our students. So let's first talk about our agenda today. We're going to do an introduction on what they actually are. What are interactive assessments? The second thing we're going to talk about is purpose and uses. So how can we use them and why are they purposeful inside the classroom? Then we're going to talk about some examples of different interactive assessments. I'm sure we all have our favorite and so do our students. And then the research behind why we should use them or implement them in our classrooms. At the end, I will save some time and explain how you guys can give some feedback or submit any questions that you have, because I would love to seek out some answers for you. So what exactly is an interactive assessment? So it's just like what it says, it's interactive. So that means that whatever type of assessment it is, the student is interacting with the assessment and the assessment is interacting with the student. So they are much different from the traditional assessment many of us grew up on. I know that when I graduated elementary school, I had the CRCT. So I had the little Scantron sheet and had to bubble in the answers. But these assessments allow for students to actively participate and complete the assessment. So there might be some type of gamified component, or instead of traditionally showing a teacher the correct answer, they may have a simulation that they have to complete. And I'll show you a interactive assessment here in a few slides that actually allows for that. Or instead of identifying Egypt on a map, they might have some type of virtual field trip that they have to use to identify where Egypt is. But the most common interactive assessment is probably the technology enhanced questions that our students see on the Georgia Milestone or some of our district assessments. Maybe some of the drag and drop or drop down menu pieces on their multiple choice exams. Those would be more of an interactive assessment. Purpose and uses of interactive assessments. As you guys can see, there are 5 different purposes and uses. On this slide, we're going to talk about the purpose and uses of interactive assessments. To increase student engagement was definitely the most frequent words that I saw associated with interactive assessments. I'm sure that we've all looked for ways to increase our student engagement. We noticed that our students are not excited to learn, maybe, especially when it comes to taking quizzes or assessments, formative, summative assessments, all of that. So interactive assessments are more engaging than traditional pen to paper tests, and often incorporating those multimedia elements that make learning more fun and dynamic help students get excited to see those assessment results. The second purpose or use is to provide immediate feedback. This is super helpful for teachers and students. The students are able to identify their weaknesses and strengths, and the teacher can then see that. If a lot of students are missing one of the questions on the interactive assessment, they can go over it. They can talk about, maybe some misunderstandings they had. It allows the teacher to reteach or to accelerate certain students. So it allows for that differentiation piece. The third thing is personalized assessments. This type of interactive assessment allows for a program to adapt to individual learning needs and pace, providing a customized learning experience. One of the things that our district uses, or interactive assessments, I should say, our district uses iReady. And this is an adaptable assessment as they go through their pathway. It kind of creates a personalized lesson for that student. Skill application is another purpose and use of this type of technological tool. It allows students to apply their skills and knowledge in practical scenarios, enhancing comprehension and retention. And then the last one noted is data collection. Interactive assessments gather valuable data on learning performance and understanding, aiding in the evaluation and improvement of instructional methods. So here are a few examples of interactive assessments. I'm sure that we all have our favorite, and so do our students. So there's Quizzes, Kahoot, Socrative, Nearpod, Mentimeter, there's GimKit. There's all kinds of different awesome interactive assessments. You can play Jeopardy, and this could be an interactive assessment. So anything that allows you, your student, to interact with the technology-based program and give you feedback on their knowledge could be considered an interactive assessment. So again, all of these here are some of my favorite, and I'm going to go into describing some of these. So here are some let me go to our next page. Here are some of the ultimate assessment tools. You can see this is a nice little graph that shows you how fast a student could possibly get through with the assessment and how fast it kind of interacts with the technology. So Mentimeter is at the top, and then you have Socrative. That's one of my favorites. And on down, some of these I really love, and then others, they're just okay to me. If you look over here and you see your favorite, you'll have to let me know in the comments, or maybe share in the comments of that little interactive piece after the presentation. What is your favorite assessment tool? Personally, my two favorites are Socrative and probably Nearpod. Those are my two, and those are the two that I'm going to give you an example of. All right, we're going to move on to our next slide presentation page. So here is a demonstration of the interactive assessment Socrative. It's one of my favorites. Some people call it Socrative. I've always called it Socrative. So Socrative is one of my ultimate favorite ways to quiz my students. If you look over to the it would be my right, your left, I guess, side of the presentation, you will see this is the main page of it. You can create a quiz, have a space race, or create an exit ticket. And you can create multiple choice, true, false, or short answer questions. It also allows you to include explanations for incorrect answers. So if you look here at my descriptions, these give immediate feedback. So that is one of the biggest cons, the biggest pros to using interactive assessments. It gives you immediate feedback. So that's excellent for students and teachers. If you look down here, you will see on the right-hand side at the bottom, a civil rights quiz that I gave my students when I taught 8th grade, and it allowed students to get feedback immediately. I could put it on the board, and you can see it says show names, show responses, show results. Oftentimes I would take away the name, and we would just look at it for the percentage that they got correct. At the top, under each number, there would be a percentage, and if it was one that they were struggling with, it would be in red, and it would show the percentage of the class that got it correct. And I could click on it and it would take us to that question, and we would go over it in real time. That was one of my favorite ways to review, and I could include explanations for incorrect answers on Socrative as well. I also included this picture down below of if you go into the bank on Socrative, they already have quizzes created, so that will save teachers time as well. So another pro to using these interactive assessment pieces, sometimes they have already pre-made quizzes that you can go in and take a look at and change slightly to fit your class. Also, I just wanted to mention on Socrative, you do have a join code. Students will log in as a student, and they will join using whatever your code is to play your interactive assessment or to take your interactive assessment. The space race over here to the side, if you can see it, is a game. It's an interactive assessment piece to Socrative. So that's another piece of Socrative that I really love that is part of that whole interactive assessment. All right, the next interactive assessment that I like to use is our Nearpod. A couple of years back, my district actually bought a Nearpod, district license, and we were all able to use the pro version. There is a free version and a pro version. I really love that it increased the engagement of new content whenever I was having to present new content on some type of history subject. Oftentimes students would kind of get snoozy on me. So I love putting these interactive pieces that would provide assessment results and data for me to go over. Another thing I wanted to mention is they're very practical. So say you teach science, if you look over here in the green, these are the interactive pieces on Nearpod. So you can insert videos into a PowerPoint presentation, web content, videos. There's a Nearpod 3D image that they can kind of interact with. Like I think one of them was the space station, and they could actually take a tour of the space station. So that is that more practical. Obviously we might not be able to go down to Fort Cape Canaveral, but we could go visit a space station in that 3D Nearpod, and they could identify pieces of the space station, or maybe go to space and they could identify the different planets. And then over there's also the simulation piece. So say you have a frog dissection and you want to simulate that and have them pick apart the different organs of the frog, and they have to identify it. That would be a really cool interactive assessment that you could do using Nearpod. You also have the VR field trips. When I taught history, I loved using these because we would learn about Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And of course, we can't take a flight over there, but we could do a field trip and we could have them identify the flags and the different parts of the culture that we talk about, and just all kinds of different things we could do in a virtual field trip rather than a pencil paper test. Down here below in orange, you can see the quizzes and games that you can insert into the PowerPoint presentation. So say you go through like 2 slides, and then on the next slide, you'll have a little quiz that they interact with, and it shows real time, like who's getting them correct and who's struggling with them. You could have them draw it. So this is kind of catering to our different learning styles. So students that maybe struggle with that pen paper test, but they can be more art, they can show their learning through art. That would be a really cool piece for that interactive assessment using Nearpod. Fill in the blank, memory test, so like a drag and drop memory. The time to climb. It's a game, so they'll be racing each other, like a little, see if they could remember what you've just taught, and then matching pairs. So these can be kind of considered a brain break, but they're also interactive assessments. They allow the teacher to see how they're doing, also allows the student to see if they're retaining that information. So very awesome ways to do this. And I will go ahead and pause here, and I will show you that on the actual websites. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate how you can use this or apply this in your classroom for interactive assessment. So here is the Nearpod platform when you first log in. You can see over here on the left-hand side, my lessons, my profile, reports. So under reports, you can click here and it will give you all the reports of any races that you do, like little games that you do inside your PowerPoints. It'll give you the results of any quiz that you gave during your PowerPoint presentation, any of the drawing activities, any of the any type of assessment information that you do during your PowerPoint presentation will be under reports. So you'll have the students log in with their name, their first and last name. That's why it's really important that you do that, or some type of S, their initials, something to indicate who they are, so that when you go to results after your presentation, you can see all of that data. So that is an awesome component to Nearpod. And now I'm going to talk about that interactive piece. What can you add? So say you have this presentation. So it's on closed reading fiction. I taught ELA last year. And again, the school library, or Nearpod, the Nearpod library has all of these pre-made PowerPoint presentations, or you can upload your own. So say you have one that you've made or you've bought on Teachers Pay Teachers, you can upload that and then add these pieces to that PowerPoint. So these interactive assessment pieces can be added to any PowerPoint presentation that you want to upload to the Nearpod platform. So you'll go to edit once you've uploaded it. And then I'm having a little bit of technical issues. So then you'll go to add content. And when you click on add content, I think I fixed the technical issues I was having. On the Nearpod platform, when you log in, you will see that you can add content and activities, those interactive assessment pieces, right here on your PowerPoint. So we'll go to add content, and I'm going to show you the two that I use the most. So the quizzes and games are the interactive pieces. So as you can see, you can add quizzes, a draw it for students to respond with a drawing, text, or images, a fill in the blank, memory test, time to climb would be an interactive like competition, and then match pairs would be where they drag and drop and match pairs, like maybe a vocabulary thing where you're checking to see if they were listening during your PowerPoint presentation of keywords and phrases. The interactive piece is probably my favorite because you can add videos, web content, videos on BBC. My favorite would be the Nearpod 3D, interactive 3D objects they can explore. So when we go to Egypt and Africa, they can explore the pyramids. The simulation piece will be great, like I said, for science simulations on volcanoes, or maybe dissecting different animals and biology. And then the VR field trip, again, I use this a lot in my history lessons. So here's Nearpod and all of those interactive pieces for interactive assessment possibilities. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate how you can use this or apply this in your classroom for interactive assessment. So here is the Nearpod interactive assessment tech tool would be Socrative. The reason I really love this is it does engage my students and they get really excited for a review. And personally, I found that it was very hard for my middle school students to get excited for a review. But when we use Socrative to show them kind of where they were, it was like a very visual way to show students like what are they doing really great on and what are they struggling with. And I know Quizzes does this as well, but this was more of a formative assessment that I would do maybe on a Friday, and then right after the assessment we would go over the results and they would be able to see as a class how they did. So I really like this for more of those formal assessments rather than like the gamified games that they played, which we did a lot with Kahoot, Quizzes, GimKit, things like that. But again, this was more of a formative assessment at the end of the week, but they still were very engaged with the review that I gave afterwards, and it was that immediate feedback, which again is a great pro to using this type of tech tool or assessment, so interactive assessments. So how you use this website, you teacher login, students login, they would log in and use the code that you're given when you sign up for Socrative. And we'll let it load. My internet's running really slow. Okay. So it's still loading, but as you can see, there's a quiz, a space race, an exit ticket, and then the quick question. You can use a multiple choice, true, false, or short answer, and these are the same things that you can have inside your exit tickets, space race, or quiz. Here would be where you go to reports, and I'm not really sure why mine got all wiped out, except I got married and my name changed and all that good stuff, so just be aware of that. But if you have an email that has to be changed, you might lose your data. But anyways, here's where you would see your reports. So you would be able to click on it and see them. There is a pro version and a free version, but both are really great. You can also click on live results, and this is what was shown in my screenshot. So with the live results here, you can see the numbers. These are the numbers of your questions, and then you could turn off the show names over here. You could turn that off, and then you can go over all of the numbers. You can, by clicking on them, it will pop up the question. And as you guys can see, here's one of the last openly segregationist politicians in Georgia. He was a governor, and then they choose one of them, and you could click on show results. And no one took this test, but if they did, you can see the percentages over here of students that did correct or answered it correctly, and then the students that did not, and then you can provide an explanation. And they can go over this independently, but also as a class. And they really actually were very engaged by this because they saw visually, if it was green, these boxes right up here were green, they got it correct as a class and had the percentages above the numbers. So it was just a very good visual for students. Another thing that they have on here, it's more of a paid version. This is my library, but let me go to Discover. So under Discover, you can see that there's a collection of different quizzes that you can choose from: math, ELA, language arts, or language arts, science, all of the different subjects. And then they have quizzes that are ready to be given to students. So great resource, free resource. There is a paid version, of course, that has a lot of more bells and whistles, but this is a very good interactive assessment website that provides that engagement piece. It provides immediate feedback, lots of great things for students and teachers. So what are others saying? What is research saying? Research indicates that interactive assessments can significantly boost student engagement compared to traditional methods. For example, using interactive assessments in educational settings has improved engagement and learning outcomes. Additionally, students who participate in interactive activities like fill in the blank and multiple choice questions report higher content knowledge and engagement levels. As a teacher, I really like that part. Higher content knowledge. We always want our students to remember what they've learned, and I love that it improves their engagement levels. Research also shows that interactive assessments are a practical way to evaluate learning performance. So again, that example using Nearpod where you can use a simulation instead of like a pencil paper test to see if a student maybe knows how to dissect a frog and identify the different organs and all of that. So that would be a really cool way and an interactive way to assess their learning on that. This type of assessment can be fun and exciting and promote enthusiasm and curiosity. I hope some of the examples that I shared today give a perfect illustration of that. Additionally, they can be a tool to engage students and help promote competition. And I think that healthy competition among our students is sometimes what really engages maybe those reluctant learners. So that is a really awesome point. Here are my references. These can be seen in my Canva little PowerPoint presentation as well, more clearly. And then here is a page with my email on it. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me. I will be happy to look for the answers to any questions you have. I'm going to briefly go over or take a look at the negatives to interactive assessments. This is also on my presentation that was posted from Canva, but I'm going to go through this very, very quickly because I'm already over the time constraints. So quickly introduction, the research, and some questions I'll answer if anyone has any. The cons of interactive assessments. So as we look at these cons, you can see that most of these cons relate to all of our different technology and programs that we have in schools. So all of these have cons. Let's run some research behind some of these things. To the many technical problems that successful implementation of So here is the research and here is my references. If you have any questions, please let me know.